If somebody says something insensitive toward white people and you are white, no matter what happened, no matter what transpired, you just have to shut up and grin and bear it. Hi everybody and welcome back to our channel. Yes, I'm wearing the same clothes and the same glasses and the same everything. Why? Because the last video was a lot shorter than I expected it to be and I need some drama. This one is called Struggling to Process Racist Comments My Wife and Her Friend Made During the Party. Today, my wife and I attended a small party hosted by one of her friends. For context, my wife is Filipino. I'm white. You know what? I have a problem. I have a problem with people utilizing the word Filipino or Latino. Latino refers to a man from Latin American origin. Latina refers to a woman from Latin American origin. So you gotta change the O and the A. Same with Filipino and Filipina. You just called your wife a he woman. I'm sorry, that was just a me tangent. For context, my wife is Filipina, I'm white. The rest of the guests at the party were Latino. That's an interesting invite. Everything was going fine until the end of the evening, when the host began to rant about white people, how weird they are, and other similar comments. That's just as tone deaf as you could possibly be. And maybe you're making the comment as a joke, but then you should catch yourself and go, oh, I'm so sorry. I know it's not all white people. What shocked me was that my wife chimed in, agreeing with the host and adding her own comment about how brown people should appreciate each other, implying some kind of contrast. I was standing there next to them, feeling a mix of disappointment, anger, and belief. That would be like if I went to a Latin American function with my Peruvian husband and people start talking about black people and then he's like, oh yeah, and starts talking about black people in a disrespectful way. The thing is, if the roles were reversed, if someone started making generalizations about another race, I would have immediately shut it down, saying that the person's character and personality have nothing to do with their race. It's a principle that I believe. But in this situation, I froze. Well, I understand that too, because you were in the minority. What were you going to do? And if you did speak up for yourself, would they have ganged up on you? Now I don't know how to feel about it or how to approach the situation with my wife. Her comment felt so out of character for her, and it's making me question things. It's not just about what was said. It's also about the implicit message. We've been married for 8 years, and while I believe she doesn't hold any ill will toward me because of my race, the whole thing made me feel othered, like I didn't belong in that space or even in our relationship for a moment. I don't want to overreact, but I also don't want to ignore how this made me feel. I want to address it with her in a productive way, but I'm unsure how to bring it up without turning it into an argument or making her feel attacked. Has anyone dealt with something similar? How do you navigate these kinds of conversations in a multicultural relationship? Any advice would be appreciated. P.S. I forgot to add right before we went out to that party, she said that there will be one white guy so you will have someone to talk to. I found it a bit bizarre because most of my friends in the USA are not even white. First off, my gut is telling me this is not the first time that your wife has made a comment about you being white in this manner, but potentially this is the first time you've picked up on a pattern of behavior outside of just her. Someone that you've been married to for 8 years isn't going to come out of left field one day and go, oh, by the way, this party that we're going to where everybody's brown and you already knew that, since you have nothing in common with us, we contracted another white person to come and sit and chat with you. Like, that's not something that you would just say out of nowhere. Yes, she was out of pocket, and you didn't mention that this person was a mutual friend, so I'm assuming that they are a friend more so of your wife. In those environments where somebody makes a comment about one of those people from the relationship, the responsibility of the spouse is to step up and defend that person. But she didn't do that. She completely let you down by joining in on whatever joke or whatever insensitive comment that was made. I don't think he's overreacting in any way, shape, or form, but I'm curious to see what the people in the comments have to say about her behavior and also his desire to approach her about what has happened. There are brown and black people that have the mindset that no matter what happened, no matter what transpired, if somebody says something insensitive toward white people and you are white, you just have to shut up and grin and bear it because your people did X, Y, and Z to my people and my grandma's people and my great-great-grandma's people. I'm not one of those people. Someone that's born in this day and age, in these times, in this year, is not responsible for what happened before they came on the scene. I'm interested to see if he gets more of that energy or more support. let's jump right down to the comments. The top comment here says, say, when you agreed that white people are weird, it made me feel really bad about myself. Then do not say another word and let some silence happen and see what she says. The idea of leaving silence for the other person to fill is a good strategy. This is a great way to go about it, says somebody else. Hopefully that way she will reflect on how her words hurt him and come to the conclusion it was racist, rather than OP taking a more combative approach, which is more likely to lead her to be defensive or dismissive. Haha. Okay, so there is a point where conversation just stops being productive and breaks down. There's someone who says, quick unpopular interjection here. Racism has two definitions, and then they go down like the systemic oppression versus an overall attitude of discrimination toward people of other races, yada, yada, yada. It rolls down the entire thread for a hot minute, and then we get somebody that brings it back to the meat and potatoes of how I'm feeling. This person says, unpopular counterpoint here. People of color aren't entitled to unchecked discriminatory behavior because they have felt othered many times before. Diminishing OP's feelings because acknowledging them is centering himself is pretty toxic and frankly hypocritical. If a group of white men were standing in the kitchen bonding over how weird Hispanic people are and how brown people do the weirdest things, white people are better because they care more about each other, etc., no one would say it is okay. Speaking that way wouldn't be considered acceptable. If a Hispanic person overheard that conversation and felt bad, you would never tell them they should push those feelings down and realize it's not personal. It's just white people's experience with Hispanics at large. You should just sit with that and use it to learn more about how you could do better. You would say that was inappropriate. 100% where I'm standing on this as well. While the comments were inappropriate, they weren't necessarily racist, though I do understand the racial component with people bringing attention to the fact that you're the only white guy there. I can sympathize with you in that aspect. I really hope that conversation with your wife goes over well. I love the suggestion that you don't come in guns blazing, because then you would just be another white guy, if you get what I'm saying. I would love to hear from you in the comments if you think I'm way off base and you disagree with what it is that I'm saying, or if you agree, or if you have a third or a counterpoint or something. I can't words anymore. I hope that you enjoyed this video and learned something from it. As we always say on our channel, remember that with God, all things are possible, and I will see you next week. Take care.